The wine glass slipped from Amara's hand, shattering against her apartment floor as she stared at her phone screen. 3 small words glowed back at her in the dim candlelight. Message read 9:47 p.m. But it wasn't Jamal's name at the top. It was, Mr. Kang Ji-hoon, CEO. Her stomach dropped so violently she thought she might actually be sick. The romantic candles she'd lit now felt like they were mocking her. The silk robe she'd put on suddenly felt ridiculous. And that message, that stupidly flirty message she'd sent in Korean with 3 fire emojis and a winking face, had gone to the one person in all of Seoul, in all of Korea, in the entire world, who should never, ever have received it. Come over, I can't wait anymore. To her boss. Her CEO. The man who signed her paychecks and could end her career with a single word. Amara's hands shook as she grabbed her phone, frantically tapping at the screen like somehow she could unsend it, delete it from existence, make the last 5 minutes disappear. But there it sat, delivered and read, sitting in the chat history like a bomb that had already detonated. She screamed into her throw pillow, a long, guttural sound of pure mortification that her neighbors definitely heard. Then she did what any rational person would do in this situation. She opened a new bottle of wine and drank straight from it. Her phone buzzed. Amara actually yelped, nearly dropping it. Mr. Kang's name appeared on screen with a new message, and she genuinely considered throwing her phone out the window and moving back to Lagos immediately. With trembling fingers, she opened it. I believe this was meant for someone else. See you at Monday's meeting. Kang Ji-hoon. Professional. Concise. Completely and utterly mortifying. Amara wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. She could feel her face burning hot enough to fry an egg on. This was worse than the time she'd accidentally called her professor, Daddy, in university. This was worse than when she'd walked out of the bathroom at her cousin's wedding with her dress tucked into her underwear. This was a career-ending, life-ruining, please let me die now level of embarrassment. She needed reinforcements. Amara pulled up her contacts and called the one person who might be able to talk her down from this ledge. Soo-jin, I need you to tell me how to leave Korea without anyone noticing, Amara said the moment her friend picked up. What? Amara, it's almost 10 p.m., what are you talking about? I sent a text to Mr. Kang. The CEO. My boss. The Mr. Kang. Okay, and? You send him work texts all the time. Amara took another swig of wine directly from the bottle. Not a work text. A sexy text. Come over I can't wait anymore, text with fire emojis, Soo-jin. Fire emojis. The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long that Amara thought the call had dropped. Then Soo-jin's voice came through, barely a whisper. You sent what to who? I know. I know. It was supposed to go to Jamal, I was tipsy, I wasn't paying attention, and I clicked the wrong contact and now I want to die. Can you die from embarrassment? Because I think I'm actually dying. Oh my God. Oh my actual God. Amara, do you understand who Kang Ji-hoon is? He's not just your CEO, he's one of the most eligible bachelors in Korean tech. His face was on the cover of Forbes Korea last month. Every woman in Seoul would kill to send him that message intentionally and you did it by accident. That's not helping, Soo-jin. Right, sorry. Okay, what did he say back? Amara read his response out loud, her voice getting smaller with each word. Well, at least he's being professional about it, Soo-jin offered. He could have reported you to HR. Oh God, HR. I didn't even think about HR. Do you think he'll report me? Will I get fired? Soo-jin, I can't get fired. My visa is tied to this job. If I lose my job, I have to go back to Nigeria and face my family and explain that I lost my fancy Seoul corporate job because I drunk texted my CEO asking him to come over. Breathe, babe. Just breathe. Listen, send him an apology. A really professional, really sincere apology. Explain it was meant for your boyfriend. Be honest. Kang Ji-hoon is known for being fair, maybe even a little too formal. He'll probably just pretend it never happened. Amara nodded even though Soo-jin couldn't see her. Okay. Okay, yes. Professional apology. I can do that. She hung up and stared at her phone for a full 10 minutes, typing and deleting various versions of an apology. Each one sounded worse than the last. Finally, she settled on something short and to the point. Mr. Kang, I'm deeply mortified. That message was intended for my boyfriend. Please accept my sincerest apologies for the completely unprofessional error. It will never happen again. Amara Okonkwo. She hit send before she could second-guess herself, then immediately threw her phone across the couch like it had burned her. The candles had melted down to stubs. Her romantic evening was thoroughly ruined. And Jamal, the person this whole disaster was supposedly for, still hadn't shown up. As if summoned by her thoughts, her apartment buzzer rang. Amara dragged herself to the intercom. It's me, babe. Sorry I'm so late, traffic was insane. She buzzed him up, catching sight of herself in the hallway mirror. Her eyes were slightly wild, her silk robe was askew, and she was pretty sure she'd chewed off all her lipstick in panic. This was not the sexy, confident girlfriend vibe she'd been going for. Jamal walked in carrying plastic bags of takeout, looking tired but cheerful. He was handsome, easygoing, everything that had attracted Amara to him 8 months ago. But right now, looking at him, all she could think about was how he was 2.5 hours late, how he'd made her wait yet again, and how that waiting had led to the most embarrassing moment of her entire life. Hey beautiful, sorry about the delay. Got us some fried chicken and tteokbokki though. I know you love the spicy one from that place in Hongdae. I texted my boss, Amara blurted out. Jamal set the bags down on her kitchen counter, confused. Okay. About what? Not about work. I texted him the message that was supposed to go to you. The sexy one. The, come over I can't wait anymore one. For a second, Jamal just stared at her. Then he started laughing. Actually laughing, like this was the funniest thing he'd heard all week. Babe, that's hilarious. What did he say? Hilarious? Jamal, I could lose my job. This is a nightmare. He pulled her into a hug, still chuckling. Come on, you're overreacting. He already replied, right? He said see you Monday. That means you're fine. He's probably already forgotten about it. These rich CEO types get weird messages all the time. But Amara couldn't shake the knot in her stomach. She let Jamal hold her, but something felt off. Maybe it was the embarrassment still coursing through her system. Maybe it was the fact that he was laughing when she was genuinely distressed. Or maybe it was the growing realization that if he'd just shown up on time like he promised, none of this would have happened. They ate the chicken in relative silence, Jamal scrolling through his phone while Amara pushed tteokbokki around her plate. He left around midnight, citing an early morning class he had to teach. Amara barely slept, playing out Monday morning scenarios in her head, each one worse than the last. The weekend crawled by in agonizing slow motion. Amara checked her phone obsessively, half expecting another message from Mr. Kang, though she didn't know what she wanted it to say. She deep-cleaned her entire apartment, reorganized her closet, and watched 5 episodes of a new K-drama without retaining a single plot point. Soo-jin called twice to check on her, offering to bring soju and commiseration, but Amara declined. She needed to be alone with her shame. Sunday evening, she video-called her mother in Lagos, desperate for the comforting normalcy of family. Her mother's face filled the screen, beautiful and familiar, her head wrap perfectly tied despite it being early morning in Nigeria. Amara, NWAM, how are you? You look tired. Are they overworking you at that company? I'm fine, Mama. Just a long week. Hmm. Her mother's eyes narrowed in that way that meant she saw right through the lie. What happened? Nothing, I just miss home. You miss jollof rice, you mean, her mother teased, but her smile was warm. Your brother called yesterday. He asked when you're coming to visit. Your grandmother keeps asking about you too. She wants to know if you found a nice boy yet. Amara thought about Jamal, about the text, about the impending Monday morning doom. I'm dating someone, Mama. I told you about Jamal. The American teacher, yes. But Amara, when are you coming home? Korea is nice, but your family is here. Your future is here. My future is where I build it, Mama. Her mother sighed, the same sigh she'd been sighing since Amara announced she was staying in Korea after graduation. I know, my dear. I just worry. You're so far away, and for what? A job? You could have a good job here too. It's not just a job, Mama. I'm building something here. They talked for another 20 minutes about her brothers, about her mother's business, about church gossip and family weddings. When they hung up, Amara felt both better and worse. Better because talking to her mother always grounded her. Worse because she was reminded of how much she'd given up to be here, and how spectacularly she might have just thrown it all away. Monday morning arrived with all the inevitability of an execution. Amara dressed with obsessive care, choosing her most professional outfit, a tailored navy dress that said, competent employee who definitely did not send inappropriate texts. She applied her makeup with precision, braided her hair into a neat crown, and gave herself a pep talk in the mirror. You are Amara Chidinma Okonkwo. You survived Unilag during strike season. You navigated Lagos traffic for 25 years. You learned Korean in 2 years. You can survive one embarrassing text message. It's fine. Everything is fine. Everything was not fine. The moment she walked into the office, she felt like everyone was staring at her. They probably weren't. They were probably just doing their normal Monday morning routines, getting coffee and complaining about the weekend ending too quickly. But Amara's paranoia was in full overdrive. Did they know? Had Mr. Kang told someone? Was she about to become office gossip? She made it to her desk without incident, booting up her computer and trying to look busy. Her coworker Min-ji stopped by with a bright smile. Amara. How was your weekend? Fine. Quiet. Yours? Went to Busan with my boyfriend. It was so nice. Oh, by the way, Mr. Kang's assistant was looking for you earlier. Amara's blood turned to ice. His assistant? Yeah, she said Mr. Kang wants to see you this morning. Probably about the international marketing project, right? Right. The project. Definitely the project. Not the text message. Absolutely not the text message. Amara nodded robotically and watched Min-ji walk away. Her computer screen blurred in front of her. This was it. She was getting fired. Or worse, getting a formal warning. Or even worse, having to sit through an HR meeting about appropriate workplace communication. Her phone pinged. A calendar notification. Meeting with CEO Kang, 10 a.m., conference room 3. She had 45 minutes. 45 minutes to prepare for her professional demise. 45 minutes to figure out what to say, how to apologize again, whether she should start packing her desk now or wait until after the meeting. The minutes ticked by like hours. Amara tried to work, tried to focus on the marketing report she was supposed to be reviewing, but the words swam on the screen. She went to the bathroom 3 times just to splash cold water on her face. She made coffee she didn't drink. She reorganized her desk supplies twice. At 9:58 a.m., she walked to conference room 3 like a woman walking to her doom. Her heels clicked against the polished floor with each step. Her heart hammered so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. She paused outside the door, took a deep breath, and knocked. Come in. Mr. Kang's voice was exactly as she remembered it. Deep, calm, authoritative. She pushed open the door. He was standing by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out over the Seoul skyline. When he turned to face her, Amara was struck, as she always was, by how unfairly attractive he was. Sharp jawline, perfectly styled black hair, eyes that were intelligent and assessing. He was wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Ms. Okonkwo, please sit. She sat. She folded her hands in her lap to keep them from shaking. She met his eyes for half a second before looking down at the conference table. The silence stretched. Amara wanted to fill it, to apologize again, to explain, to beg for her job, but her voice seemed to have abandoned her. I want to address Friday night, Mr. Kang finally said. Amara wished the floor would open up and swallow her. Mr. Kang, I am so incredibly sorry. I know I already apologized, but I need you to know that it was a complete accident. I would never intentionally send something so unprofessional. I understand if you need to take disciplinary action, but please know that I have the utmost respect for you and this company and I will never, ever make a mistake like that again. She said it all in one breath, her words tumbling over each other in her nervousness. Mr. Kang raised one hand slightly, a gesture for her to stop. Ms. Okonkwo, I'm not going to take disciplinary action. Amara's head snapped up. You're not. No. Accidents happen. You apologized. The matter is closed. He paused, and something shifted in his expression. However, I asked you here because after I received your message and your apology, I was concerned. Concerned? Your message seemed urgent. When you didn't respond after my initial reply, I worried that something might be wrong. That perhaps you needed help with something and had accidentally reached out to the wrong person. Amara blinked. She'd been so consumed with her own embarrassment that it hadn't occurred to her that he might have been worried about her actual well-being. No, I was fine. I mean, mortified, but fine. It really was just meant for my boyfriend. I'd had some wine and I wasn't paying attention to which contact I selected. Mr. Kang nodded slowly. I understand. And I hope your evening ended well, despite the confusion. There was something in the way he said it, something almost kind, that made Amara relax slightly. It was fine. Thank you for being so understanding about this, Mr. Kang. I was terrified I'd lose my job. You're one of our most valuable marketing coordinators, Ms. Okonkwo. It would take more than a misdirected text message to jeopardize that. He moved to sit across from her at the conference table. Actually, since we're here, I wanted to discuss the upcoming international expansion project. I'd like you to take the lead on the marketing strategy for our Nigerian market entry. Amara's mind stuttered to a halt. The Nigerian market? But that's a huge account. I thought Senior Director Park was handling that. Director Park recommended you specifically. She said your insights into Nigerian consumer behavior have been invaluable. And your Korean has improved significantly since you joined us. He smiled slightly. I noticed you wrote your message in Korean. Quite well, actually. Amara felt heat creep up her neck. I've been practicing. It shows. So, are you interested in leading the Nigerian project? Was she interested? This was the kind of opportunity she'd been working toward since she started at the company. A chance to prove herself on a major international account, to bridge her two worlds, to show that her unique perspective had real value. Yes, absolutely. I'd be honored, Mr. Kang. Excellent. We'll schedule a full project meeting for later this week. I'll be working closely with you on this, so expect to see me more often. The meeting ended shortly after, with Amara floating out of the conference room in a daze. She hadn't been fired. She'd been promoted. Well, not technically promoted, but given a major responsibility that could lead to a promotion. Mr. Kang had been professional, kind even, and had somehow turned her most embarrassing moment into a complete non-issue. If you're enjoying this story of Amara's chaotic journey through Korean corporate culture and unexpected romance, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, things are about to get even more complicated. And drop a comment telling me if you've ever sent a text to the wrong person. I want to hear your stories. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of project meetings, market research, and late nights at the office. Amara threw herself into the Nigerian expansion project with everything she had, partly because she was genuinely excited about it, and partly because staying busy kept her from overthinking the text message incident. But something had shifted. Mr. Kang had been true to his word about working closely with her. They had meetings at least 3 times a week, sometimes more. And during those meetings, Amara started noticing things. The way he always asked her opinion first, even before the senior directors. The way he remembered that she'd mentioned missing Nigerian food and had jollof rice delivered to the office kitchen one day with a note saying, for authentic taste testing purposes. The way he smiled when she got passionate about an idea, leaning back in his chair and letting her talk without interruption. The way he'd started asking about her life outside of work, genuine questions about her adjustment to Korea, her family back home, her interests. It was subtle. So subtle that Amara told herself she was imagining it. He was just being a good boss, fostering a positive work environment, showing interest in his employees. That was all. But then there was the elevator incident. It was late on a Thursday evening. Most of the office had cleared out, but Amara had stayed behind to finish a presentation. She was exhausted, carrying her laptop bag and a stack of printed reports, when she nearly collided with Mr. Kang at the elevator bank. Ms. Okonkwo, you're here late. Last-minute changes to tomorrow's presentation, she explained, shifting the reports in her arms. Let me help. Before she could protest, he'd taken the stack of papers from her. Going down. They stepped into the elevator together, alone. The doors closed. The small space suddenly felt much smaller. You work too hard, Mr. Kang said, his eyes on the descending floor numbers. Says the CEO who's also here at 8 p.m. He smiled at that, a real smile that reached his eyes. Fair point. They stood in silence for a moment. Then the elevator jolted and stopped. The lights flickered. Amara grabbed the railing. What just happened? Mr. Kang pressed the emergency call button. A crackling voice came through the speaker, explaining that there was a brief power issue and they'd be moving again in a few minutes. Well, Amara said, trying to keep her voice light despite the growing awareness that she was trapped in an elevator with her CEO, this is awkward. Is it? Mr. Kang asked, turning to look at her directly. And there it was again, that thing she'd been trying not to notice. The way his gaze lingered. The slight intensity in his expression. The space between them that felt charged with something she absolutely should not be feeling for her boss. I should tell you something, he said quietly. Amara's heart started hammering. You really don't have to. I think I do. He set down the reports he'd been holding. That message you sent. The one meant for your boyfriend. Mr. Kang, please, we agreed never to speak of that again. I know. But I need you to know that when I received it, for just a moment before I realized it was a mistake, I wished it wasn't. The air left Amara's lungs. What? I've been noticing you for months, Ms. Okonkwo. Your intelligence, your passion for your work, the way you light up when you talk about your home. The way you navigate between cultures so gracefully. And when I got that message, even though I knew immediately it wasn't meant for me, there was a moment where I thought, what if it was? Amara couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process what was happening. I'm not asking you for anything, Mr. Kang continued. You have a boyfriend. I respect that. I respect you too much to put you in an uncomfortable position. I just needed you to know that someone sees how remarkable you are. Even if the person who's supposed to show up for you sometimes forgets to. How do you know about that? The words came out barely above a whisper. I don't know specifics. But I notice when you look disappointed on Friday evenings. I notice when you check your phone repeatedly and try to hide your frustration. I notice more than I probably should. The elevator lurched back into motion. The moment broke. By the time the doors opened on the ground floor, Mr. Kang had resumed his professional demeanor, though his eyes still held that intensity. Have a good evening, Ms. Okonkwo. See you at tomorrow's meeting. He walked away, leaving Amara standing in the elevator, her whole world tilted on its axis. She went home in a daze. Jamal was supposed to come over that night, their standing Thursday dinner date, but he texted at the last minute saying he was too tired. Amara sat alone in her apartment, Mr. Kang's words echoing in her head. Someone sees how remarkable you are. When was the last time Jamal had made her feel seen? When was the last time he'd shown up when he said he would? When was the last time he'd asked about her work, her dreams, her day, and actually listened to the answer? She called Soo-jin. I think I'm in trouble, Amara said without preamble. What kind of trouble? The CEO kind of trouble. Soo-jin's sharp intake of breath was audible even through the phone. Amara Okonkwo, you better tell me everything right now. So she did. The elevator, the confession, the way her heart had raced, the way she couldn't stop thinking about it. Oh honey, Soo-jin said when she finished. You're not in trouble. You're in deep. I have a boyfriend, Soo-jin. Do you though? Really? Because from what you've told me, Jamal shows up when it's convenient for him and disappears when it's not. That's not a boyfriend, babe. That's a part-time situationship. The words hit harder than Amara wanted to admit. It's not that simple. Isn't it? Look, I'm not saying you should jump into your CEO's arms. That's a whole different complication. But maybe it's time to be honest with yourself about what you actually want. And what you deserve. After they hung up, Amara lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her phone sat on the nightstand, silent. No text from Jamal apologizing for canceling. No text asking how her day was. Nothing. She thought about Mr. Kang's words. About being noticed. About being seen. About someone paying attention to the small details that made up her life. Friday's presentation went flawlessly. The board approved the Nigerian expansion project, praising Amara's comprehensive market analysis and innovative marketing approach. Mr. Kang caught her eye across the conference room and nodded slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement that made her chest feel warm. After the meeting, Director Park pulled her aside. Outstanding work, Amara. Mr. Kang specifically requested you for this project, you know. He said you had invaluable insight that no one else could provide. He said that? He did. Between you and me, I've never seen him take such a personal interest in a project coordinator before. You must have really impressed him. Amara spent the rest of the day in a fog of conflicting emotions. Pride in her professional achievement. Confusion about Mr. Kang's attention. Guilt about the growing realization that she was thinking about her boss more than her boyfriend. That evening, Jamal actually showed up on time for once. He brought flowers, cheap ones from the convenience store, but flowers nonetheless. Congratulations on your presentation, he said, kissing her cheek. I know you were nervous about it. Thanks. Amara took the flowers, wondering when she told him about the presentation. Had she? She couldn't remember. They ordered delivery and settled on her couch to watch a movie. Jamal picked an American action film he'd been wanting to see. Halfway through, his phone buzzed. Then buzzed again. And again. Sorry, babe, just some work stuff, he muttered, typing rapidly. Work stuff at 9 p.m. on a Friday? Yeah, you know how it is. The academy's planning some new curriculum changes. But Amara noticed he tilted his phone away from her as he typed. Noticed the small smile on his face as he read whatever messages were coming through. Noticed the way he seemed more engaged with his phone than with her. "Jamal, can I ask you something?" He didn't look up. "When was the last time we had a real conversation? About something that matters? About our future, or our relationship, or anything deeper than what we're having for dinner?" Now he looked up, confused. "What? We talk all the time. Do we? Or do I talk and you half listen while checking your phone? Where is this coming from? Are you okay?" "I don't know," Amara said honestly. "I don't know if I am." Jamal set his phone down, finally giving her his full attention. "Amara, you're stressed. The presentation, the project, you're working too hard. Maybe you need to take a break, go on vacation or something. That's not what this is about." "Then what is it about?" Amara looked at him, really looked at him. Tried to see the future she'd been imagining with this man. Tried to feel the excitement, the connection, the certainty that this was right. And found herself coming up empty. "I think maybe we need to talk about where this is going," she said carefully. "We're good, babe. We're happy. Why complicate things? Are we happy? Are you happy?" Jamal shifted uncomfortably. "Yeah, of course. I mean, things are easy with us. We have fun. Why are you being so serious?" "Because I'm almost 30, Jamal. Because I moved across the world and I'm building a life here and I need to know if you're building it with me or just passing time." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I think maybe you're right. Maybe we should talk about this. But not tonight, okay? You're tired, I'm tired. Let's just enjoy the movie." But they both knew. The writing was on the wall, had been for a while. They finished the movie in silence. Jamal left early, claiming another headache. Amara didn't ask him to stay. The weekend was long and contemplative. Amara went to her Nigerian church in Iriwan on Sunday, seeking comfort in familiar hymns and the warmth of her community. After service, her friend Chioma pulled her aside. "Sister Amara, you look troubled." "Man trouble?" Amara laughed despite herself. "Is it that obvious? To those of us who know you, yes. Come, let's get some food and you can tell Auntie Chioma everything." Over pepper soup and pounded yam at a Nigerian restaurant in Iriwan, Amara found herself confessing everything. The text message. Mr. Kang. Jamal's increasing distance. Her confusion about what she wanted. Chioma listened patiently, occasionally making sympathetic noises. When Amara finished, the older woman sat back and shook her head. "My dear, let me tell you something. I've been in Korea for 15 years. I've seen many relationships, many confusions. And the one thing I've learned is this: don't settle for someone who treats you like an option when someone else is ready to treat you like a priority. But Mr. Kang is my boss, Chioma. It's complicated. Everything is complicated until you decide what you really want. You think our mothers back home didn't face complications? You think moving to a new country isn't complicated? Life is complicated, Amara. The question is, what complication is worth it?" Monday morning brought new clarity. Amara had spent the entire Sunday night thinking about Chioma's words, about what she wanted, about what she deserved. She arrived at the office with a plan. First, she needed to have an honest conversation with Jamal. They'd been avoiding the real issues for months, letting things drift in a comfortable but ultimately unfulfilling direction. It wasn't fair to either of them. Second, she needed to focus on her career. The Nigerian project was the opportunity of a lifetime, and she couldn't let her personal confusion distract from that. Third, and most complicated, she needed to figure out what to do about the growing feelings she couldn't deny anymore. Feelings for a man who was technically off-limits, who could make her professional life very complicated, but who saw her in a way she'd been craving to be seen. The universe, however, had other plans. Amara was barely at her desk for an hour when Mr. Kang's assistant appeared. Ms. Okonkwo, Mr. Kang would like to see you in his office. This time, Amara wasn't nervous. She was calm, resolved, ready to face whatever came next. Mr. Kang's office was on the top floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. It was her first time inside. The space was elegant but surprisingly personal. Books lined one wall, a mix of Korean and English titles. A piece of Nigerian art hung near his desk, a vibrant painting of Lagos street life. You noticed, Mr. Kang said, watching her stare at the painting. When did you get this? Last week. After our conversations about Nigerian culture, I wanted to learn more. I reached out to a gallery in Lagos and they sent me this. The artist is named Adeyemi, I believe. Amara moved closer to the painting, touched beyond words. This is from my neighborhood. This is Lekki. I recognize that street. I know. The gallery helped me choose something that might remind you of home. She turned to face him. Why would you do that? Mr. Kang stood from behind his desk, moving to stand beside her in front of the painting. Because I meant what I said in that elevator. I see you, Amara. Not just as an employee, but as a person. And I wanted you to know that your home, your culture, your background, it all matters. It makes you who you are, and who you are is extraordinary. Mr. Kang. Ji-hoon. When we're alone, you can call me Ji-hoon. The intimacy of it, the permission to use his first name, felt like crossing a threshold. Ji-hoon, Amara tested the name. I need to be honest with you about something. Please. I'm going to end things with Jamal. Not because of you, not because of this, but because I've been holding on to something that stopped working a long time ago. I've been settling for someone who doesn't show up for me, who doesn't see me the way I deserve to be seen. Ji-hoon's expression was carefully neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. I'm sorry to hear your relationship is ending, but I'm glad you're choosing yourself. And I need to know something. That confession in the elevator, was it just you being kind? Or was it real? It was real. More real than I probably should have allowed myself to feel for someone who works for me. So what do we do about it? Ji-hoon was quiet for a long moment. We do nothing. You focus on the Nigerian project, on your career. I maintain my professionalism. We pretend this conversation never happened, and we go back to being CEO and employee. And if I don't want to pretend? Amara. Her name on his lips sounded different than when he called her Ms. Okonkwo. Softer, more intimate. I can't ask you to risk your career, your reputation, for something that might not work. The power dynamic alone makes this complicated. If anyone found out, they'd say I was taking advantage, that you felt pressured. I won't do that to you. What if I'm saying I'm willing to take that risk? Then I'm saying I'm not. Not yet. Not while you work directly under me. Not while this project is ongoing. He stepped back, putting professional distance between them. End things with your boyfriend because you deserve better, not because you think there's something here. Focus on your work. And maybe, when the timing is right, when the circumstances are different, we can revisit this conversation. It wasn't what Amara wanted to hear, but she respected it. Respected him for caring enough about her well-being and reputation to put boundaries in place, even when they both clearly wanted something else. Okay, she said. Professional it is. Professional, he agreed, but the way he looked at her was anything but. The conversation with Jamal happened that evening. Amara had prepared a speech, rehearsed what she wanted to say, but in the end, it was simpler than she expected. They met at a coffee shop near her apartment, neutral ground. Jamal arrived late, as usual, looking distracted. So what did you want to talk about? He asked, stirring his Americano without looking at her. I think we should break up. He looked up, surprised but not devastated. Really? Because of the other night? Amara, I told you, you were just stressed. No, Jamal. Not because of the other night. Because this isn't working. We're not working. You're not showing up for me, emotionally or literally. And I don't think you want to. I think we've both been going through the motions because it's comfortable, but comfortable isn't enough. He was quiet, processing. Then he said, I've been seeing someone else. The confession hung in the air. Amara waited for the hurt, the betrayal, the anger. But all she felt was a strange sense of relief. How long? A couple months. It's not serious, but, yeah. Thank you for telling me. And honestly, I'm not even mad. That probably tells us everything we need to know about where we were. They talked for another 20 minutes, wrapping up the practical details of their breakup. Jamal had some things at her apartment, she had a sweater at his place. They agreed to exchange belongings later that week. It was all very civil, very mature, very anticlimactic. Walking home alone, Amara felt lighter than she had in months. Sad, yes, because endings are always sad even when they're right. But also free. Free to figure out who she was without trying to fit into someone else's half-hearted attention. She called her mother, knowing it was early morning in Lagos. Amara? Is everything okay? I broke up with Jamal, Mama. A pause. Then, are you alright? I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. It was the right thing to do. Sometimes the right thing still hurts, NWAM. But I'm proud of you for being brave enough to choose yourself. Those words, that support, even from thousands of miles away, meant everything. The next 3 months were transformative. Amara threw herself into the Nigerian expansion project with renewed energy and focus. She worked closely with Ji-hoon, maintaining strict professionalism even as the tension between them hummed beneath every interaction. He was true to his word about boundaries. Their meetings stayed focused on work. Their conversations, while warm and occasionally personal, never crossed the line. But Amara noticed things. The way he always made sure she had eaten during long work days. The way he scheduled meetings to accommodate her church on Sundays. The way he asked about her family, remembered details about her brothers, knew when her mother's birthday was coming up. The Nigerian project launched successfully. The marketing campaign Amara had designed resonated perfectly with the target audience, combining cultural authenticity with modern appeal. Sales exceeded projections by 30% in the first month alone. The board was thrilled. Director Park congratulated her publicly. And Ji-hoon sent her a private message that said simply, I knew you could do it. There was a company dinner to celebrate the launch, held at an expensive restaurant in Gangnam. Amara wore a dress she'd had specially made, a fusion design that incorporated both Korean elegance and Nigerian Ankara fabric. She felt beautiful, confident, proud of what she'd accomplished. Ji-hoon couldn't seem to take his eyes off her all evening. They didn't sit near each other, maintaining their professional distance, but she felt his gaze from across the room. Near the end of the night, he approached her on the restaurant's outdoor terrace where she'd stepped out for air. You should be proud of yourself, he said quietly. What you've accomplished with this project, it's extraordinary. I had a good team. And a supportive CEO. Amara. There was that tone again, the one that made her name sound different. The project is wrapping up. Your official reporting structure is being reorganized. You'll be reporting to Director Park going forward, not directly to me. Her heart started racing. Why are you telling me this? Because the circumstances are changing. The power dynamic that made this complicated, it's shifting. We'll still work together occasionally, but you won't work for me directly anymore. Ji-hoon. I'm not asking you for anything tonight. I just wanted you to know that the obstacle I mentioned, the professional complication, it's being removed. What you do with that information is entirely up to you. He walked back inside, leaving Amara alone on the terrace with her thoughts and a heart that wouldn't stop hammering. 2 weeks later, after her reporting structure had officially changed, after she'd had time to process and think and be absolutely certain, Amara knocked on Ji-hoon's office door after hours. "Come in." He looked up from his computer, surprise and something else, something hopeful, crossing his face when he saw her. "I've been thinking about what you said," Amara started. "About timing. About circumstances. About waiting for the right moment. And I think maybe the right moment is now. If you still feel the way you said you felt." Ji-hoon stood, moving around his desk but maintaining distance. "I do. More than I should, probably. But Amara, are you sure? Because once we cross this line, there's no going back. Your career, your reputation, everything could be affected." "I'm sure. I'm not saying it won't be complicated. I'm not saying people won't talk. But I'm tired of living my life based on what might happen or what people might think. You see me, Ji-hoon. Really see me. And I see you too. That's rare. That's worth the complication." He moved closer, close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. "I don't want to be a rebound. You're not. You never were. You're the person who reminded me what I deserve. What it feels like to be truly seen and valued. And your family? How will they feel about you dating your Korean CEO?" Amara laughed. "My family will have opinions. They always do. But at the end of the day, they want me to be happy. And I think, maybe, you could make me happy." "I think maybe I could too," Ji-hoon said softly. "Then, may I kiss you?" "I thought you'd never ask." The kiss was soft at first, tentative, both of them aware of how long they'd been waiting for this moment. Then it deepened, became something urgent and real and perfect. When they finally pulled apart, Ji-hoon rested his forehead against hers. "We're going to take this slow. We're going to be discreet. And we're going to do this right." "Agreed." "But Ji-hoon?" "Yes. You're going to have to meet my mother eventually. And trust me, she's going to have questions." He laughed, a sound of pure joy. "I look forward to it. I've been studying Igbo, actually. I can almost say, 'nice to meet you,' without butchering the pronunciation." "You've been learning Igbo?" "I told you. I see you, Amara. All of you. Including where you come from." 6 months later, Amara sat in her apartment on a video call with her entire family. Her mother, her father, her 2 brothers, and her grandmother were all squeezed into frame in their Lagos living room. "So let me understand this," her father said, his voice stern but his eyes twinkling. "You're dating your former boss. A Korean man. A CEO. And you expect us to be okay with this?" "Well, technically he was never my direct boss after the first 3 months," Amara corrected. "And yes, I do expect you to be okay with it. Because I'm happy, Daddy. Happier than I've been in a long time." "Is he treating you well?" her mother asked, the only question that really mattered. "Better than well, Mama. He respects me, supports me, sees me for who I am. He's learning Igbo for me. He wants to visit Nigeria to meet you all properly." Her grandmother spoke up in Igbo, her voice warm. "If he makes you happy, NWAM, if he honors you and your family, then he has our blessing. But tell him he must learn to eat our food without making faces." Amara laughed, translating for Ji-hoon who was sitting next to her off camera. He squeezed her hand. "Tell your grandmother I'm practicing. I can handle pepper soup now without crying." The conversation continued, her family asking questions, Ji-hoon charming them despite the video call distance and the cultural gap. When they finally hung up, Amara felt overwhelmed with gratitude. "That went well," Ji-hoon said, pulling her close. "It did. They liked you. I'm glad. Your family is important to you, which makes them important to me." Amara looked at the man who'd somehow become her person, who'd started as an embarrassing text message mistake and had become something real and beautiful and right. "You know what's funny," she said. "If I hadn't sent that message to the wrong person, if I hadn't made that stupid mistake, none of this would have happened." "Maybe it wasn't a mistake," Ji-hoon said thoughtfully. "Maybe it was fate. The universe's way of getting my attention. Making me realize what was right in front of me all along. You're such a romantic. Only for you." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the Seoul lights twinkle outside her window. Amara thought about the journey that had brought her here. From Lagos to Seoul, from embarrassing text messages to executive projects, from settling for less to finding something more. Her phone buzzed with a message from Soo-jin. "Dinner this weekend? I need all the details about how you're planning to introduce Mr. CEO to Nigerian aunties at church. This I need to see." Amara showed the message to Ji-hoon, who groaned good-naturedly. "How bad is it going to be?" "Oh, it's going to be terrible. They're going to ask you about your intentions, your family, your plans for marriage and children. They're going to feed you until you can't move. They're going to adopt you and then give you unsolicited life advice." "Sounds perfect," Ji-hoon said, and meant it. Because that was love, Amara realized. Not the convenient kind, not the comfortable kind, but the real kind. The kind that saw you completely and chose you anyway. The kind that embraced your whole messy, complicated, beautiful life and said, "Yes, this is exactly where I want to be." So if you've made it this far in Amara's journey, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button because we've got more Afro-Korean love stories coming your way. Drop a comment about your most embarrassing text message fail. And smash that like button if you believe in second chances and accidental romance. 3 years later, Amara stood in a beautiful venue in Lagos, wearing a dress that combined traditional Igbo and Korean wedding elements. Ji-hoon stood beside her in a suit with subtle Ankara accents, looking slightly overwhelmed but completely happy. Her grandmother approached them during the reception, speaking in Igbo with Amara translating. "She says you've brought honor to our family by finding a man who truly sees you. And that your children will be very beautiful and very confused about which culture's food is better." Ji-hoon laughed, responding in careful Igbo that made Amara's grandmother beam with pride. "I told her I've accepted that jollof rice is superior to Korean fried rice, but I'm still fighting for bibimbap." As they danced to a mix of Afrobeats and K-pop, surrounded by family from 2 continents and friends from 3 different countries, Amara reflected on the unexpected path that had led her here. A misdirected text message. A moment of mortification. A series of small choices that had added up to a completely unexpected love story. "What are you thinking about?" Ji-hoon asked, spinning her gently. "About wrong messages and right timing. About embarrassment and bravery. About how sometimes the worst moments lead to the best things. No regrets. Not a single one." And as they kissed under lights strung between palm trees, with their families cheering and cultures blending and love winning, Amara knew it was true. Sometimes you have to send the wrong message to find the right person. Sometimes you have to fail spectacularly to succeed beautifully. Sometimes the universe pushes you exactly where you need to be, even if it takes a mortifying detour to get there. The end of one story. The beginning of everything else.